Hi everyone, a very good afternoon to all of you. Today is 4th of May and I welcome you all to the Hindu newspaper analysis discussion. So guys, in this particular session, we are going to cover newspaper analysis of 3rd of May as well as 4th of May, that is today. So as I mentioned on Telegram that I was traveling yesterday. So for yesterday, though I shared notes, but I was not able to make video because I was traveling and there was no network availability. So today what we are going to do, we are going to cover both of these days, 3rd and 4th of May newspaper analysis. And if you want, you can download this entire explainer notes of this session from Telegram channel. Link for Telegram is given in description box in YouTube. Now let's get started with the session. Now every class guys we start with a GS quotation which you can use in your answers as well as you can also use in your essays. So today we are going to take the quotation from Christina Lagarde. Now Christina Lagarde is the president of European Central Bank. Also earlier she has been managing director of IMF. So she says when women do better, economies do better. So, Christina Lagarde's idea is that women empowerment is not just a social imperative, it is also an economic imperative. When the condition of women will improve, when women will do better, economy will do better. If women condition is improved, if they are more educated, they will participate in labor force, female labor force participation rate will go up, that will contribute to economic well-being. Secondly, if women are educated, if women are empowered, they can play more important roles in decision making. These women will be having they'll be aware about their reproductive rights. By that, population of a country will be sustained. Undue pressure on economic resources will not be there. So when women do better, economies do better. So women empowerment is not only will not only bring the social benefits, but also it will lead to economic benefits. You can use this particular idea in GS paper number 1 as well as GS paper number 2, issues related to women as well as developmental issues. Also in essay you can use this particular idea. So that is about it. And now let's move to first article for the today. So today we are going to start with this particular article. Recognize this leave as a women's right. Now this particular article we are going to discuss with respect to GS paper number 1 and GS paper number 2, women related issues, developmental issues. We are going to see this particular article. Now what this article talks about, this particular article is specifically focusing upon the need of menstrual leave policies. Now, understand this particular thing, guys. Let's see. When we talk about female labor force participation rate in India, according to Periodic Labor Force Survey 22-23, okay, this is the latest periodic labor force survey that we have. Female labor force participation rate is 37%. 37%. Now, we see that a large number of women are not participating in labor force. Many factors are there. Number one, women centric jobs are not there. Secondly, there is a stigma against women working. And there is also one more important reason is that many women, when they are menstruating, they experience intolerable pain, and during those 5 to 6 days, it is not possible for a large number of women to involve any physical activity. And menstrual leaves in India are not given in very limited circumstances, they are given. So therefore, now there are the demands that menstrual leave policies should be recognized. Now, in this particular capacity, if you might have heard the name of Zomato, which is a food delivery platform. So Zomato already came out with the menstrual leaves for women, and after that, many corporates have followed this particular example. And since then, this thing often comes in the debate that whether the women should be given the menstrual leave or not. Now, if we talk about the issue of menstrual leave in this capacity, there have been certain private member bill that have also been raised in the parliament. Now, any bill which is not introduced by a minister but is introduced by an MP who is not a minister, then that particular bill is referred to as a private member's bill. So here we have some examples, and guys, I will insist that please use these examples in your answer. they give a very good authenticity to your answer. So see, there was a right to menstrual hygiene and paid leave bill 2019 that was introduced by one of our legislator S. Jyotimani. And then there was a menstruation benefit bill 2017, which was again raised by one of an MP, Ninong Ering. And then Mr. Shashi Tharoor, Hibi Eden, they have also raised these bills which focus on menstrual hygiene and menstrual leave. Now these particular bills focus on menstrual health rights and access to menstrual health products, and at the same time recognition of leaves to the working women. Okay. Also, many political parties such as DMK in Tamil Nadu, they have also in the past advocated for national law on menstrual leave. And in fact, when we talk about some of the states which have successfully given the period leaves, we have example of Kerala and Bihar. In fact, Bihar many years back, fine, had already given menstrual leaves, and they have actually set examples, precedents, which should be followed by the other states. And in fact, we have many international examples also. For example, Japan and South Korea, they are recognizing menstrual leaves. Now, particularly when we talk about Japan, Japan faces a problem of graying population. Japan faces the problem of graying population, old population. And in order to enhance, in order to bring more people in the workforce, Japan is now exploring bringing women in the workforce, and giving menstrual leaves to the women has actually helped enhancing Japan's female labor force participation rate also. Today, Japan's female labor force participation rate stands around 67%, which is 30 percentage points higher than India's 37%. So these particular ecosystems that they have provided have obviously played an important role. Now, when we talk about further in this particular capacity, the focus of government as of now is not that much on menstrual leaves, and we see that both of the both of the two big political parties that we have in India, that is BJP and Congress, their manifestos don't mention menstrual leaves in their manifesto. So menstrual leaves have not been mentioned there. So therefore, what can be way forward in this capacity? So suggestions can be given. Number one, we need to we need to bring a national policy on menstruation, national policy on menstruation which will recognize menstrual leaves. Okay. Also, next thing that we need to do is that we need to encourage states that they adopt menstruation policies, they should implement menstrual leaves. And also, we need to do, we need to integrate menstrual health education. Now, in the young age, if we nudge children about the menstruation, menstrual health, these particular things will bring a positive impact in the long run. So menstrual health education should be promoted. Facilities promoting menstrual health, for example, availability of tampons, availability of sanitary pads in public toilets, etc., these things should be provided. After that after that we need to also understand that recognition of safe menstruation, uh, it will basically, we need to recognize that recognizing the safe menstruation is not only a social aspect, but by that, economic impact can also be achieved. Economic impacts can also be achieved. So we need to recognize the economic and health impact of not having a menstrual leave policy. Women will not participate in labor force. Economically, it will be a problematic thing. If women are not given safe menstrual products, their health might get impacted. So therefore, in the social security code that we have, so guys, what we did, we basically, when we talk about labor is mentioned in the concurrent list. So therefore, more than 40 laws have been there on labor. Now what government did, government compressed around 44 laws on labor in four codes. Out of that, there is a social security code. Now under this social security code, what we need to do, we need to recognize menstrual leave, we need to recognize the right to safe and hygienic menstruation. And then finally, a cultural change is needed. There is a stigma, there is a kind of a taboo against periods, and people don't discuss that. So we need to also focus on bringing a cultural change in this particular direction. So this is, guys, all about this particular article, and a very good article. And there can be a question also on this particular line in your in your mains examination. I hope you have understood it. Okay, guys, also please confirm this particular thing, that are you able to hear voice clear? Is voice loud and clear? Please write in the comment box. Fine. Please, guys, write in the comment box that is voice loud and clear. Fine. Moving on in this particular direction. Just a minute, guys. Just a minute, guys. Give me. Guys, just give me 1 second. I think there is some issue. Now, guys, moving on to the next article. Moving on to the next article. Okay. So here we have this particular article from the today's newspaper, and the article first of all reads, this is article it is, this is the year to get SDG goal back on track. Now this article will see with respect to GS paper number 2, developmental issues, as well as in for GS paper number 3, as well as for GS paper number 3, issues issues related to sustainable development. We'll see this article. Now first of all, before going in this particular article, let's take some basic background information, and then we'll go in this particular article's detail. Okay, so basically 2000 to 2015 millennium development goals were adopted. There were 8 millennium developmental goals, and these 8 millennium development goals were largely to be followed by developing countries. Then 2015 to 2030, it is the era of sustainable development goals. It is the era of sustainable development goals, and sustainable developmental goals are to be followed by both developing as well as the developed countries. In total, there are 17 sustainable development goals. These 17 goals are subdivided in targets, and there are 169 targets that we have. Now, what happened recently United Nations Summit on Sustainable Developmental Goals was held in New York. Okay, so UN Summit on Sustainable Development Goals was held in New York. Fine. And this particular summit has evaluated progress towards sustainable development goals, and it has been found that actually success on basically our speed see, it has been said that actually we are not moving effectively towards sustainable developmental goals, and the progress has been derailed because of covid-19 pandemic. And reports indicate this particular thing, that specifically goals which are related to environment, biodiversity, on these particular goals progress has been stalled. And what is happening? Because of the slow progress, it is exacerbating, it is negatively impacting environmental degradation has increased, and it is impacting our transition towards sustainable development. Now, also, uh, basically, UNSDG report 2023. Fine. So please use the name of this report. UNSDG report 2023 has also highlighted slow progress on goals related to environment, biodiversity. And in fact, UNSDG report 23 also highlights 5 critical areas that we need to immediately focus upon if we want to if we want to move effectively in the direction of sustainable development. Now, what areas they have suggested? Number one, intensified government commitment on SDG. Okay, number one, intensified government commitment on SDG. National policies should focus on SDGs. Number two, integrated policies to eradicate poverty and reduce inequality. Now, actually, if I just give you reference, there is Oxfam report, and this Oxfam report, name of the report was Profiting from Pain Report. Profiting from Pain Report. And this particular report has called COVID-19 as billionaire virus. Billionaire virus. Fine, it said that number of billionaires that were made after COVID pandemic came. Never in the history so many billionaires were formed after an adversity. Fine. So we need to come out with the new policies which will reduce poverty and reduce inequality. The next goal is enhanced. There needs to be enhanced national capacity, okay, and accountability. The next is global cooperation to mobilize resources. So resources that are needed for environment, resources that are needed for climate transition, they should be available to developing country, and for that developed countries need to help. So what we need to do? We need to cooperate to mobilize the resources, and then we need to strengthen United Nation development system, because UN is a body brings so many countries together that at the UN level, if we can build a consensus on around on any particular issue, that will bring long effects. Then next issue that comes in this particular direction is that basically what happened. There has been a report also that was released by Frank Bierman in Nature Sustainability. And this particular report has analyzed the political impact of SDGs. It has been said that actually what has happened politically, SDGs have not been taken very much seriously. Okay, overall transformative impact of SDG is limited. It has not been able to bring the impact that was expected. Why? Political commitment has not been there. Now, what can be suggestions or way forward in this particular action? Number one, there is a need for more decisive and sustained action from government. Okay, government need to come out with the dedicated policy. Government need to provide. Government need to establish institutions. Government need to provide finances in order to implement these SDGs. So, dedicated efforts has to be taken by the government in the next coming 6 years. Next is that see, there was one of a report that was released in 2019, that is UN, that was released by UN, that is future is now. Future is now. Now this particular report provided that a systemic approach should be adopted to manage trade off and maximum co-benefit across different SDGs. What we need to do? See, when we talk about sustainable developmental goals need not to be just seen as an imperative, which will see, you need not to just see it only from the environmental lens. You need not to just see it only from the economic lens. You just not to see it from the lens of social justice. But what we need to do? We need to we need to we need to see SDGs more comprehensively, from the point of view of governance, from the point of view of economy, from the point of view that how individual actions are needed to achieve SDGs, from the point of view science and technology. So what we need to do? We need to take all these particular things together simultaneously. The next thing that's needed in this capacity is that we need to encourage novel partnerships. So what need to be done? How government and the private sector can come together, how corporate and civil societies can come together, how self-help groups and panchayats can come together. So many innovative partnerships should be envisaged which can help in achievement of SDGs. Also, 2024 is the year when so many countries are facing elections. So governments also need to prioritize sustainability, need to prioritize SDGs in their manifestos, because until and unless governments will prioritize SDGs goal cannot be achieved. So these are some of the things that are needed to be focused. Then moving on to next article, policy mismatch. Okay, now this particular article talks about the US's policies on Israel. On Israel. Now, guys, you already know this particular thing, that what happened on October 7. On October 7, Hamas, which is an extremist outfit located in Gaza Strip, it attacked on Israel. It attacked Israel. and then counter attacks have been started by Israel on Hamas. Now these attacks are going on since the month of October, and since then hundreds and thousands of people have died and impacted. Now, according to some of the estimates, it has been said that 34,000 casualties have been there in Gaza, and primarily women and children are the one who are most impacted. Now, when we talk about the US, on US, one hand they say that we want to bring peace, but on another hand they are continuously giving military support to Israel. Recently, $17 billion of funding has been approved for Israel so that Israel can fight with Hamas. So point is that US, what they show, they have a mismatch in what they are doing and what they are speaking. They seems to be having a paradoxical viewpoint where on one hand they talk about peace, but on another hand they are supporting Israel with the finances so that they can continue their crackdown on Hamas. And problem is this: that Hamas has not been eliminated. It is poor women and children of the Gaza Strip who have got impacted. This is something. Now, next thing that comes here in this particular capacity is that what US need to do. US need to ensure that how they can facilitate a ceasefire, how they can ensure that the broader regional tensions can be kept under control. So you see this thing that the war started, but now we find that Iran and Israel war is becoming a possibility. Saudi Arabia is also getting dragged. Houthi rebels from Yemen, they have also been involved. So point is that US needs to focus on facilitating a ceasefire and to manage that the regional tension should not erupt. Use regional tension should not erupt. This is something that is to be done. Now, way forward or suggestions that can be given in this particular direction. Number one, US should consider US should consider suspending arms sales to Israel immediately. Number one. Number two, there should be efforts to secure a permanent ceasefire. And in this capacity, United Nations Security Council and peacekeeping mission, UN peacekeeping missions should be utilized. And then policy of US needs to be more coherent. Needs to be more coherent. So values that they speak, that is the values that they preach, that is peace, harmony, but actions that they don't align. So here coherence is needed. So this is guys about it. And now moving to next article. India's press freedom score fell over last year RSF. Now this article can be used can be used as a case study, or it can be quoted as a reference in questions related to press freedom. Questions related to press freedom, GS paper number 2. GS paper number 2. So let's first of all understand that what this particular article is talking about. So what happened recently, World Press Freedom Index was released. Okay, what happened recently? World Press Freedom Index was released. Who releases this particular index? This particular index is released by the Reporters Without Borders, or called as RSF. RSF stands for Reporters Sans Frontiers. Okay, Reporters Without Borders. Now, in this particular World Press Freedom Index, they rank countries on the basis that how much free it is for the media and journalists to report. Now, what happened? So, first of all, according to this World Press Freedom Index report, India's score, fine, has declined from 36.62 to 31.28. 31.28. Now, what it does, it ranks 180 countries on the basis of the press freedoms that are there. Now, India's score, now you see two things are there. Number one, when we talk about India's score has declined from 36.62 to 31.28. However, India's rank has improved from 161 in 2023 to 159 in 2024. But it's not because press freedoms have been increased in India. It is because other countries' scores, they have slipped even more. Other countries' score slipped even more. So India has not improved. Rather, India's score has been worsened from 36.62 to 31.28. But rank improved because the other countries' scores have reduced even more. Now, when we talk about this particular report in the past, this particular report has been dismissed by the government, saying that it is misinformed and it is a kind of a propaganda. Now, in this particular report, Norway and Denmark has as are the toppers. Now, this particular report categorizes the country on the basis of five categories: political context, legal framework, economic context, socio-cultural context, and security. Politically, how free media houses, journalists are. Legal framework, are there legal protections given or not? Economic context. Now, sometimes actually, guys, what happen? Basically, you see any news channel, any news house, their revenue comes from the advertisements. Their revenue come from the advertisements. Now, many number of times, what political parties will do, they'll use their cloud to ensure that the advertisements, they don't get advertisements. So, economic context, how viable it is to run a free media channel, to run a free newspaper. The next is socio-cultural contact. What people think about free media. Okay, do people like free media or not? Do people support free media or not? Then there is security. How safe, how safe journalists are in India. Okay, do they face some threat? Fine. So on these particular five parameters, on these particular five categories, countries are ranked. Okay. Now India's ranking has been reduced. India's ranking is 159 in 2024. Use this. However, score of India has come down. So please use these particular things, guys, in your answers. That is all about it. And now moving to next article. Why are Indian spices facing the heat? Now this particular article we'll see with respect to GS paper number 3. GS paper number 3, India's international trade and related issues. So here the case study of spices we'll see. Also, with respect to GS paper number 2, health. GS paper number 2, health also will take this particular article. So let's see what the article is talking about. So basically, recently what has happened? So there are five countries that have announced investigation on Indian spices, and major ones are Singapore, Hong Kong, US. They have said that will carry investigation on contamination in India's spices. Particularly, they are investigating the brands such as MDH and Everest, which are India's two most renowned and popular brands. Now, what contamination has been found? So, these countries say that there is excessive ethylene oxide that has been found. Excessive ethylene oxide that have been found in spices. Now, what is this oxide? Let's understand this and why it is a problem. So, first of all, ethylene oxide, it is a chemical that is used as a food stabilizer. Used as a food stabilizer. Okay. Now, basically, when we talk about this ethylene oxide, it is a colorless flammable gas uh, that was originally intended for sterilizing medical devices, and in the food, it is also used as a stabilizer. What it does, it extends the product's shelf life. Okay, so you see na, 3-month expiry, 6-month expiry. So this shelf life is extended by this ethylene oxide. However, however, often if there is improper and excessive presence of this ethylene oxide, it can then leave behind residues which are toxic, carcinogenic. Means that what they can do, they can lead to cancer. Also, what happens, many number of times, this ethylene oxide, it can leave behind a compound, ethylene glycol. Now, ethylene glycol is a toxic compound, and guys, if you remember, last year, 2022, and in 23 also, there are the reports that many children in the countries such as Cameroon, Gambia, Indonesia, Uzbekistan, they died because they consumed the cough syrup. In that cough syrup also, this ethylene glycol was there, which is a toxic compound. Okay, so problem is that this ethylene oxide, this chemical is used as a food stabilizer, but if its quantity goes beyond a permissible range, it can lead to injuries. Yeah, so it can lead to these toxic residues which are carcinogenic. It can leave behind ethylene glycol, which is again toxic. Now, Spices Board of India, it says that we have now initiated mandatory testing of the products that have been shipped abroad. This is something that has happened. Now, when we talk about such bans on the spices and such kind of a thing, this is not so this is sir so this is not first time. This is not first time that such kind of a thing has happened. Now see, what happened in the past. There have been 30 instances. There have been 30 instances where entry was refused to Indian products. Particularly some of the products, they contain excessive salmonella, which can lead to salmonellosis, which is a bacterial foodborne illness. So in past also, because of sanitary reasons, hygiene reasons, because of the banned substances that have been found, Indian food products have been rejected. Now what has happened? FSSAI, Food Safety and Secure, FSSAI, fine. What they have done, they have directed the states to collect the samples, but such kind of a thing should have happened earlier. Now when we talk about India's spices industry, India's spices industry, fine, there are India's spices industry, there are many issues that are there. Number one, understand this thing. There is diverse food landscape in India. Different areas, different cuisines are there, and there are so many varieties of spices that India is making, that testing all of them, it is actually a little bit problematic. Then standardized record keeping is not followed in India. Okay, sometimes there are intentional food frauds that are done. Manufacturers know that certain kind of substances that they are using are bad, but they don't give that particular information out in the public. Fine. Then there are small and medium sized businesses that are there. Fine. Keeping a tab on them is not possible. Informally, so many players are making masalas. You find this particular thing that often in the open market they are being sold in transparent poly bags. Now you don't know what is the quality of these spices. Now, at least 10 states and UTs, they don't have a government or private food testing labs. So these are all the problems that we have in this capacity. Now you see this particular thing, that if India's spices, let's say they are being banned, or let's say they have come under scrutiny, what happens? It puts a kind of a general suspicion on other exported items also, that India's export products are not of that good quality, they are inferior quality. So a kind of a general suspicion emerges, which is problematic broadly for India's exports. Now you see this particular thing. China is also a big market where India's spices are exported. So if China also follows what Hong Kong is doing, then India's exports will see a dramatic downturn. What can be done? It can impact 51.1% of India's spice exports. And if European Union also follows, now European Union in the past also has issued such kind of a directives. For example, in past they have banned India's Alfonso mangoes. Okay, so if European Union also follows, then there will be serious negative impact on India's exports of spices. Okay, so this is about it. Fine. I hope guys that you have I hope you have understood this particular thing. Okay, so that is all about it. Also understand this particular thing, guys, that this particular thing is very important because India's spice export is a major earner of foreign exchange for India. Fine. So I hope that you have understood. Okay, I hope you have understood. Now, moving on to the next article. Center to train state police forces on new criminal laws. Now, basically, full-fledged question might not be asked in this particular capacity, but what you need to do, you need to. There are certain things that we are going to understand this. Fine. Moving on. Now, see this particular thing. What happened? India recently. What happened? India recently came out with the three criminal law bills, that is भारतीय न्याय संहिता, भारतीय नागरिक सुरक्षा संहिता, and भारतीय साक्ष्य अधिनियम. Now these particular laws, what they are going to do, they are going to replace Indian Penal Code, Code of Criminal Procedure, and Indian Evidence Act. Okay, so Indian Penal Code will be replaced by Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita. Code of Criminal Procedure will be replaced by Bharatiya Nagrik Suraksha Samhita, and Indian Evidence Act will be replaced by the Bharatiya Sakshya Adhiniyam. Now, next thing that comes here is that, see, such a big comprehensive overhaul has never came in India. So we need to train police personals, we need to train we need to train the new joinees in the Indian police force, that they understand these particular laws, the sections which have been changed. They need to know about that. So what has happened? Bureau of Police Research and Development, Bureau of Police Research and Development, which is a research arm under the Home Ministry. What they have developed? They have developed a trainers module, training of trainers module. And under this particular module, different training programs will be designed for a different level of police prison personnel. So if you are an IPS officer, if you are sub inspector, if you are a jail superintendent, so for different levels of police personals, what is being done? Training modules will be designed, and these training modules will sensitize them with respect to new changes that have come. Also, these particular courses will be integrated with the IGOT portal, that is integrated government online training portal. And this IGOT portal was released as a part of Mission Karmayogi. It was released as a part of Mission Karmayogi. Okay. So this is something that has happened in this particular capacity. Now, guys, where we can use this particular example? Now, this particular thing. Understand this particular thing, that when we talk about civil servants are needed to be updated regularly. Are needed to be updated regularly. Civil servants need to be given capacity building so that they can understand the new challenges, so that they can understand the new changes that are coming into the legal jurisprudence. And this is a good example. We need to follow this particular suit. Okay, that is all about it. I hope that you have understood it. Now, moving to next article. Okay, so there are some questions. Let's take a question. There is Hong Kong, Singapore, UK reject one third of spices. Sir, one query is that please don't take this. We expect some extra aspects. Sir, masale hi to hai. Okay, Vikas, see, yeah, masale hi to hai. Now understand this particular thing, that when we talk about spices export, spices export is a major commodity which earns India's foreign exchange. So point is that you cannot just say that this is inconsequential, not important, one particular thing. A large number of people who are dependent on now see large number of people who are being employed in spices industry. If this entire industry will face a problem, then those particular people's employment will get impacted. Secondly, what happens? We are promoting make in india. These particular things brings a disgrace to India's manufactured products. Okay. Also, as last year we have seen that, see, India is always referred to as pharmacy to the world. Last year what happened? India's cough syrups that have been exported to the countries that I mentioned, they have high levels of ethylene glycol. Because of that, so many of children died. So point is that these particular kind of things can be used as an example on the now see, these particular things are the case studies as what are the irritants that are impacting India's exports. Moving on. Organ donation hit by poor identification of brain death cases. Okay. Now, basically, guys, when we talk about organ donation has been very low in context of India. Now, if we see this particular thing, fine, there have been just 16,041 organs that were donated in 2022, and most organ donations were most organ donations were kidneys. And if we further talk about the organ donations in India, we find this particular thing, that less than one donor per million is there in India. Less than one donor per million is there in India. People don't donate. Now, when we talk about the organ donation, first of all, understand this particular thing. There are large number of people who are facing there are now large number of people who face brain death. Okay, now these are the cases where people, they have met with some kind of an accident or some kind of an injury, they are brain dead, their revival is not possible, but their heart is still pumping, their organs are still working. So in these particular cases, organ donations can be made. But according to Union Health Ministry, it has been said that first of all, identification and certification of brain death people is not happening properly, and because of that, what is happening, organ donations are low. Understand this thing. If the people who have become brain dead, if they are certified on time that a person is brain dead, and if their family members are informed on the time that this person cannot be revived, the person has faced the brain death, but you can donate organs, then numbers in such cases can go up. So what has happened, Directorate General of Health Services has asked the health authorities to identify potential brain death cases who have been admitted to ICU, and what they need to do, they need to make family members aware that they have an opportunity to donate organs, also in this particular capacity. What has happened, a standard operating procedure a standard operating procedure is to be issued under Transplantation of Human Organ and Tissues Act 1994, which can promote more donations. We also, what we need to do, we need to educate, we need to nudge the doctors on duty in the hospitals so that they can identify the people who can potentially, the people who can be the potential organ donors, and their cases are to be, such kind of a cases are to be followed, and their family members are needed to be made aware. Fine, moving on. Removing exotic plants will ensure food for wild animals, find study. Now, this article will see with respect to prelims examination as well as GS paper number 3, environment conservation related. So basically, what the article is talking about. Now see, first of all, what are exotic plants? What are exotic plants? Exotic plants are those varieties of plants which have been introduced from foreign locations, and these exotic plants, what they happen, they do grow very fast. Why they grow very fast? Because see, exotic plants means that they have been introduced from some foreign locations, and because of that, they don't have pathogens, they don't have natural pathogens, they don't have natural predators. So because of that, their population grow rapidly, and because their population grow rapidly, local species they outcompete local species. So this has actually become a concern. Now what has happened, it has been provided that if these exotic plant species are removed, then there will be more food for wild elephants. Now see, one of our species that is being mentioned here is Acacia merense, black wattle, and eucalyptus. Now I'm pretty sure that you all might have seen eucalyptus tree. Eucalyptus is in fact an exotic tree. So according to Kerala State Forest Protective Staff Organization, if Acacia merense, that is black wattle, and eucalyptus is removed from the forest, what can be done? There will be more food availability for the wild elephants. Now, wild elephants, because of excessive growth of these particular plants, they are not able to move freely. Moreover, as these particular crops grow, what happen? They outcompete the native species, local grasslands which are consumed by the elephants, local plants that are consumed by elephants, and by that, elephant faces a stress. And what happens? Elephant then need to go to human habited places. There again, man animal conflict will increase. So this is something that is to be ensured. Now here one example is being given. Chinnakanal landscape in Kerala, it is overrun by West Indian lantana, which is again a kind of an exotic species. So such exotic species are needed to be weeded out from the forest. So this is all about this particular article. Now, here we have an article, Indo-Indonesia agree to enhance defense industry collaboration. Now, guys, nothing much has come in this particular article. Actually, what has happened recently, India and Indonesia They agreed to enhance collaboration in areas of defense, industry, maritime security, multilateral cooperation, where recently 7th India Indonesia Joint Defense Cooperation Committee meeting was held. Fine. So what happened? What has happened? 7th India Indonesia Joint Defense Cooperation Committee meeting was held. And in this particular meeting, it has been decided that we'll be going forward on enhancing cooperation in this particular line. Now, guys, though exactly what is going to happen, it has not happened. Largely, the details are being given that who attended this particular meeting. But you see this particular thing, guys, when we talk about Indonesia, fine, Philippines, Malaysia, Brunei, all those are the countries who have maritime disputes in the South China Sea. Now see this particular thing. Earlier what happened? India provided BrahMos missile to Philippines, saying that we respect Philippines' rights in the South China Sea, and now we are promoting the cooperation with Indonesia. So what it shows? It shows India's changing posture in South China Sea. India is further moving in the direction of asserting itself as a regional player. Okay, so there we can use such examples. However, beyond that, nothing much has come in this particular article. Now, moving in this particular capacity, guys, gaming body warns of action against ads on online gambling. So, Tamil Nadu Online Gaming Authority, what they have said, they have issued that they are going to take stringent action against those who advertise online gambling, online games of chance, betting, etc. Now, see this particular thing. We see that there are so many social media influencers, which are promoting gambling websites, okay, or the games which have a component of gambling. Now, one particular thing just I want to discuss with you here and understand it very clearly. When we talk about gaming, gambling, and related things, there are two things that are there: games of chance versus games of skill. Games of chance versus games of skill. Now, when we talk about games of chance, games of chance purely depend on element of luck. Purely depend on element of luck. But games of skill, they depend not only on luck, but they depend on your competence. They depend on your competence. Okay. Now see this particular thing, that when we talk about these games such as the Dream 11, okay, Rummy Circle, all these particular games, are they the types of games of chance or they are games of skill? Now, if they are games of chance, they come under the gambit of betting and gambling, which can be restricted. But if they are games of skill, then they cannot be restricted. They cannot be restricted. And this particular dispute always comes whenever there is this restriction on gambling, gaming, etc. that comes. Now, what has happened, guys, in the past, these companies, sorry, such as Dream 11, Rummy Circle, etc. What they say? They say this particular thing that we are, we are the games of skill, not the games of chance. But Tamil Nadu, they classify them not as the games of skill, but as the games of chance and restricts them. And from time to time, they have come out with such kind of restrictions. Now what has happened? Tamil Nadu Gaming Authority, they have now said that we are considering uh, all the betting etc as the games of chance, and on them they have imposed a kind of a ban. And what they say, anybody who advertise, fine, they or anybody promoting them, they will be charged under Tamil Nadu Prohibition of Online Gambling Regulation Act 2022. Okay, so this is something that has happened. Fine. So that is all, guys, about it. And with this, we come to an end to the today's session. I hope that you have understood it. And as today was Saturday, on Saturday, you know this particular thing that in editorial also there is ground zero report. Text and context is not published. Science page is also not published. So there are very few articles. And in fact, as this election campaigning is going on, so 80% newspaper is filled with the political campaigns, the statements made by the leaders, and all such kind of things only. So that is all guys about it, and now we'll be meeting on Monday. Till then, please take care of yourselves guys, and I hope that you have understood this. So that is all about it. We'll meet on Monday. Till then, please take care of yourselves. Thank you so much.